What's up, guys? Memento Mori here. It's been a long time since I uploaded a video, and my apologies. In the last 3-4 months, I haven't been able to find the time to make videos. One thing is that I was trying to learn the game a bit better to be able to give better advices, and I also traveled and did a lot of things. So finally, I am in the situation where I can start producing more videos. It will probably take me still a couple of weeks for each video to make, since I have kind of a busy time at work. But still, I wanna continue make videos and trying to help other people play. Okay, in this part of this video, I want to show you how I set up my desk. There are different ways of doing it. I will show mine and I will discuss why I do it the way I do it. The first consideration is that your brain will learn how to play the game for you, at least part of it. There are things like a flick shot that you do with a quick movement and kind of strafing around and all these kind of things. Those after a while comes automatic. Now what you want to have is a setup that stays always the same every time you play. If you do so, it's easier for your brain to learn all these things. Now, one thing to consider that is very important and most people don't consider is how you sit. And the first rule is that your feet must touch the ground. If your feet touch the ground, basically there is a lot of offloading of the weight of the body that, from the legs to the feet. So basically the upper part of your body is much more free to move and basically compensate. And if for a moment you need to do a rocket jump or whatever it is, you will find yourself more able to do it promptly and quickly, without kind of having the burden of the legs that maybe you're sitting, I don't know, in whatever way you are. So feet on the ground. The second thing is you wanna push you to the back of the chair. Not necessarily because this is better than them being in front, but just because this gives you kind of a fixed thing. The more you can have a fixed position, the more it will help you performing well. Then of course there are things like you should do stretching and all sorts of things, but for the moment let's concentrate on having kind of a standard setup. So pushing to the back of the chair is a good practice, and then feet on the ground. The other thing is the distance in which you want to play in terms of the ledge of the table. And here there are multiple ways. If you play high sense, one thing that you can try that is usually very successful is to basically place both hands like with the wrist just within the table, so maybe a couple of centimeters inside the table. So this is basically the point of rotation for your wrist, and you want to basically play with your hand that is always staying there. If you play high sense, this should be sufficient to do all sorts of movement that you need. And it is a good practice to basically be symmetric with two hands and stay at the same distance to the ledge, so that you have kind of a relaxed position for the shoulder. You don't kind of start creating stress. If you have problem with the height of the desk and stuff like that, you can start using wrist pads like this. I for instance use it for my keyboard. Some people use it for both hands. It's up to you. If you play with kind of a mid to low sense, you probably want to push things a bit forward. The reason is that you probably are going to mix the wrist rotation with kind of arm, a bit of more of arm kind of compensation. And if you really play low sense, you probably want to push it forward even more. And some people even play, you will see players like Sturmy that basically have the full arm resting on the table. Okay, in this part of the video I want to discuss a bit the sensitivity, acceleration and setups and everything. And the first consideration is that when you are setting up things, your first concern should be movement and not aiming. This is a very bad mistake that a lot of people do, is that they will start playing the game and they soon will realize, oh, you know, to be better you need to hit more. And then you will start doing shaft battles and then realize, oh, I'm not hitting as the other guys. And then somebody will tell you, well, you know, if you lower the sense, it's actually easier to hit, and you will try and then it works, and then you end up lowering the sense. Now that might be good for aiming, but the problem is that it's the wrong process. The process should be first caring about movement. And movement, there are, you know, it's Quake, so there are lots of techniques for strafe jumping and turn jumps and stuff like that. I would say that the most important thing is how quickly you can start your movement. And the point is that, you know, timing is everything in Quake. It's not just about timing the items, but being able to move around, take a decision, and immediately execute it. This is crucial. So if you lose like a split second every time you start a movement because your circle jump is not top notch, that's bad, because that, you know, split second you sum it up with, and then it ends up you being late for kind of reaching a certain position. You know, in the game there are situations where you have to reach a certain position, but if the opponent is there earlier, he can deny you. Like for a railgun, he places there with a railgun, and now you can no longer pass. So it's really about timing and being faster than the opponent. And some matches are just won because a player is much faster than the other. And it's not just, you know, how much speed you can build with a particular jump. It's really often the first two jumps, because the maps are not big enough to allow you to do more. So it's a matter, of course, of the trajectory that you do. If a better trajectory is better than others, but it's also a matter of, you know, these little basic jumps like the turn jumps and stuff that you really need to nail. And rocket jumps, for instance, is very important in Duel. You do it less than in other modes like Clan Arena and so forth, but really there are a lot of situations where rocket jumps are important. And also being comfortable at doing a rocket jump is sometimes it pays off more than just hitting 3% more of LG. So my point is that you need to be quick. And to be quick, actually having either acceleration or a higher sense, it's better. Okay, now let's discuss about acceleration. So acceleration is a simple concept in theory. What it means is that if you're going to move your mouse slowly, you rotate a certain amount in the game, but if the same space on the mouse pad now is covered with a quicker movement, then you will rotate more. So the concept is really that depending on how fast you move the mouse, you will do greater rotation in the game, and this can be very convenient. For instance, if you need to do a rocket jump or you want to do a flick shot or something like that. Now, acceleration is kind of a controversial topic. A lot of players somehow, or some players, claim that acceleration is kind of bad for muscle memory or this kind of things, and then if you set it on, it's very hard to you know, to learn how to properly move the mouse to achieve a certain movement and blah blah blah. I personally disagree, and the observation for me is that a lot of the players at the top level use a certain amount of acceleration. You can just download their configs and you will see that acceleration is very often there. So to me, then the main point and the main advantage of acceleration is that it still allows you to have the feeling of a high sensitivity, but at the same time keep you know, the precision that you need whenever you need to aim at the distance, or if you're doing an LG battles or something like that. Like if you take a player like Kilson, the perception that you have is that, oh, Kilson must have a very crazy high sensitivity. In fact, he has a very low sensitivity, but he uses acceleration. And when you try is set up, you can really see that this kind of movements, I mean, you're very precise with those, but as soon as you move the mouse faster, you will rotate a lot. And I think this is a very powerful concept. Now, of course, that every player has its own way of doing it. Maybe sensitivity a bit higher, a bit lower. It depends. It's up to you in a certain extent. But my first suggestion is try and use acceleration. So acceleration, you know the command to do that. And in QuakeLive you have a number of settings for this. I use acceleration 0.1, which is kind of a standard value, and I use offset 0. Now offset is very interesting because offset, it allows you to control the amount of speed up to which you don't want to have acceleration at all. Now the part, something that is kind of difficult to grasp is exactly what value you should set there, or and one trick that I found is that actually if you really want to make sure that no acceleration kicks in up to a certain speed, one very simple trick to test it is this. You basically set you can try a value like 10, for instance. It's a random number that I just put in, and then set the acceleration to a negative value. Basically I will put minus 0.1. So now what happens is that as long as I am within this range of offset 10 that we said, the mouse behaves normally. But as soon as I do a flick, you will see this kind of jittering. Now probably in the video it's harder to see, but as you try it with your mouse and look at the screen, is very obvious. Like, okay, this is fine, and this wasn't fine. So you can basically fine-tune what is the speed of the mouse, what is the range of mouse movement that you can do before kind of this acceleration kicks in. And then of course you don't want to leave the acceleration to negative, you just put it again to the positive number. I'm telling you this trick because if you just keep the acceleration positive and try, to me it's very, very hard to say when exactly things are kicking in. But regardless of that, in the end, it's a matter of feeling and how well you can move. Like for instance, for me, I'm so used to play with offset 0 that even now I feel that the setup is not fast enough for me. So I'm gonna use 0. So overall, acceleration, I think it's a very great trick. It will allow you to maintain a lot of speed for rocket jump, for even this kind of quick turn jump that you have to do very quickly. They benefit a lot from acceleration, and at the same time you can have kind of a low sense or whatever to do aiming and all sorts of things that needs low sensitivity. So I guess this was it for today. I hope this was useful for some people. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.